Hey, boys and girls, it's Mr. Mac. Today we're doing lesson 2 for interpreting numerical expressions. We're in module 4 now. Don't forget that. So it says, I can compare numerical expressions which are written with one expression in terms of the other. So sounds a little bit confusing. Essentially, what we're saying is we know one thing, and now we need to write an expression to figure out something else, okay, based on what we have here. All right. Still sounds confusing, I know. So let's get into some examples and we can figure it out together. All right, so it says spark your learning. Michael and Sandra belong to a remote control club. They replace the batteries in their cars once a week. How does the number of batteries Michael and Sandra use in 3 weeks compare to the number of batteries they use in 1 week? So we have to look at our picture here of these race cars first off to figure out how many batteries we're going to be using, right? So if you look at the first car on the left here, there's 3 batteries here, and then over here there are 2 batteries there. So in 1 week we have 1, 2 batteries that need to be replaced, and then we also have 3 others. So I'm going to do it down here. 2, 3. All right. So now this shows us in 1 week, we've got the 2 batteries and we've got the 3 batteries that need replaced. So because I'm doing this because it says compare the number of batteries they use, draw to show your thinking. So this is just in 1 week. We need 3 weeks, right? So we're going to say, here is 2 weeks, just like this. And then here is 3 weeks. And my face is blocking a little bit, but those pictures are there, right? So that would be a picture that would represent 1 week being here. So you could say 1 week here. And then this gives you 2 weeks, and then this gives you 3 weeks. So it says write the numerical expression to model the number of batteries they use in 1 week and 3 weeks. So for 1 week, we had very simply 2 and then 3 of them, right? That's 2 plus 3 because 2 of them were in the picture for Michael. Sorry, I had to double check the name. And then 3 of them were in the picture for Sandra. So this would be 1 week. Now, if we needed 3 weeks worth, it would be 3 times that value. So it would be 2 plus 3. And then we multiply it by 3. And we have to remember, guys, if we want to do an operation first, we put it in parentheses because of the order of operations. So this would answer question A, which says write the numerical expressions to model the number of batteries they use in 1 week and in 3 weeks. Okay, so for part A in this question, it says the remote control club has 2 runways where the airplanes take off. The size of the runways are shown on the map. So part A says, how can you use the model the area of runway 1 using a numerical expression? Well, area is length times width. So model 1 would be 9 times 16 because area of a length of 9 and a width of 16. Part B, you're looking for the model, the area of the model for the model. They want us to model the area of runway 2 with a numerical expression. I'm sorry. So again, area is length times width. So it is 3 times 16. All right. And then in part C, it says describe the length of each runway. So when we look at how to describe them, I'm not going to put the answer for part C here because it's a little bit longer and there's multiple answers we could have. But you're looking at maybe the area or the length of runway 1 is 16 yards and the length of runway 2 is 16 yards. That's usually what we look at when we're looking at how long the figure is. All right. So that's an area for part C. An answer for part C. It could be multiple things. They just want you to describe the lengths of each. Now, when it says to compare the widths, we're looking at the 9 and the 3. So actually, let me put an answer in for C and say they are both 16 yards. All right. Okay. For part D, they want you to compare the widths. Well, we have a 9 and we have a 3. How could we compare 9 and 3? Now, some of us automatically think, well, 9 is bigger than 3, or that 3 is smaller than 9. But we're looking for more descriptive answers. We usually try to think of in terms of multiplication or division when we're comparing the numbers like this, right? So we have 9 and 3. Well, let's think. How do I get from 9 to 3? I have to divide by 3. So that would mean that since the runway 2 is smaller, we would say that runway 1 is 3 times the size of, and I'll make this a capital just to be clear, runway 2. Because if you took this number here and you multiplied it by 3, that would give you 9. Okay. Now, when we get to the next problem, it says compare the area of the runway without evaluating them. Okay, so when you're not even evaluating them, you're already going to know that the area is going to be 3 times the size because you're multiplying by a number that is 3 times greater. So even with the area, okay, the area will still be 3 times greater. Oops, I spelled that wrong. Okay, so that's your answer for part E. Now, in part F, this is where we start to talk about our numerical expression, kind of like we did in the last problem that we did in our example, okay? So it says, so compare the numerical expressions that model the area of each runway. Explain your reasoning. So we need to come up with the numerical expressions for these, and then we need to compare them. So we know when we compare them, we can say that the area, and it's kind of the same as part E, so I'm really not going to say too much of that. But the one thing we do need to say is we need to compare our reasoning. Okay, so I'm just going to copy and paste this part here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, and I'm going to explain my reasoning. Because they have an equal length, and the width of runway, I want to make that capital, runway 1 is 3 times the value of the width of runway 2. All right, so this was a long process for us to really just understand that if you're looking at this picture where runway 2 is, okay, and let's say I traced runway 2, right, and I made it this size. Okay, they're saying that runway 1 is 3 of these. So runway 1 is 1, 2, 3 of these. This doesn't match up perfectly, but I'm trying to give you the visual here to understand. When we say 3 times the size, that means we have 3 of the runway 2 to make up a picture for runway 1. All right, so hopefully this will help you with our lesson today. Again, it's really just taking 3 times the value of this to equal this. We're comparing one picture to another picture. We're comparing one expression to another expression. So we're going to be using what we have and multiplying that by something to get us where we need to be for the second example. All right. Best of luck with today's lesson, guys. Take care.